Hello, plus one students. I'm Ruchita Sharma. Today, let's read part 2 of Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Trouveroy. As we have already seen that this lesson is quite amazing because it makes an effort to help us make an inner journey to reach our soul through an understanding of art. The method used by different art forms is really worth speculating. The author wants us to look at different art forms of painting, Chinese as well as European. This way, we can see that European painting is quite empty of a spiritual essence of which the Chinese painting is overflowing. Thus, students, let's have an insight into the next passages given in your book, Hornbill. Follow me on pages 35 and 36. So, listen. A classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view as would a Western figurative painting, whereas the European painter wants you to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. The Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. His landscape is not a real one, and you can enter it from any point. Then travel in it. The artist creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down, then back again in a leisurely movement. This is even more true in the case of the horizontal scroll, in which the action of slowly opening one section of the painting, then rolling it up to move on to the other, adds a dimension of time which is unknown in any other form of painting. It also requires the active participation of the viewer who decides at what pace he will travel through the painting, a participation which is physical as well as mental. The Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes. He wants you to enter his mind. The landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. Now, plus one students, we shall read the passages given on page 36. These passages focus on the methods the author wants us to dwell upon and understand, which lead us to understand our third part of life, that is the soul. So follow me and listen. This concept is expressed as shan shui, literally mountain water, which used together represent the word landscape. More than two elements of an image, these represent two complementary poles, reflecting the Taoist view of the universe. The mountain is yang, reaching vertically towards heaven, stable, warm, and dry in the sun, while the water is yin, horizontal and resting on the earth, fluid, moist, and cool. The interaction of yin, the receptive, feminine aspect of universal energy, and its counterpart yang, active and masculine, is of course a fundamental notion of Taoism. What is often overlooked is an essential third element, the middle void, where their interaction takes place. This can be compared with the yogic practice of pranayam. Breathe in, retain, breathe out. The suspension of breath is the void where meditation occurs. The middle void is essential. Nothing can happen without it. Hence, the importance of the white, unpainted space in Chinese landscape. This is also where man finds a fundamental role, In that space between heaven and earth, he becomes the conduit of communication between both poles of the universe. His presence is essential, even if it's only suggested. Far from being lost or oppressed by the lofty peaks, he is, in Francois Cheng's wonderful expression, the eye of the universe. So, students, these passages were an excerpt from Landscape of the Soul, Ethics and Spirituality in Chinese Painting and was slightly edited. Students, now let's try to comprehend this passage which we just read given on page 35. We see that this passage clearly states that Chinese painting has an edge over the European painting. Chinese painting is a bit superior than the European painting because a Chinese painting allows the viewer to enter the painting through any angle and participate physically and mentally while viewing the painting. But a European painting has its limits. We can see it only as the painter saw the landscape from a single angle. Indian yoga methods like pranayam also underline the need for meditation and know our real purpose in life. That is all in this lesson, students. Search your net for Chinese landscape paintings and shan shui and different yogic practices. All the best till we meet again.